What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Bourbon Talk. I'm your host, Ty the Bourbon Guy. And this week, I'm actually joined by Laura Doughty, who is actually my sister in law, for those that are keeping track. How's it going, Laura?
Hey, it's good. How are you?
Good. I've got my cocktail in hand. You'd be proud of what the branding, right?
Yeah. What's in it? What's in your cup?
I have a few bourbon. I decided to
Just
go with that tonight.
continuing with the few.
Hey, when they are a good partner to work with, then it's all good. Um, they're one of my favorite like go tos for cocktails, and I don't really drink cocktails at home that often because I'm not really that good at
Mhm.
making them. I don't think I'm that good at making them.
You've made
Um,
me a few, so
and they do the trick, but I don't know that. And so this one is like a whiskey sour, so it's got the sour mix, the whiskey with
yeah.
some ice in it. So if you guys hear some ice clinking around, it's a good thing. There's bourbon in there. Um, so yeah, so I guess let's just kind of well, first, do you have a cocktail?
I have a cocktail
That's the
and
important.
I don't drink bourbon. So it's fun that you allowed someone to get in here
Who
with
doesn't drink
vodka
bourbon?
in their cup. But this cocktail's fun. I had a girls' weekend this past weekend, and everybody brought their favorite things, like a little gift exchange, and you give everybody your favorite thing. And one of my friends, Molly, she brought everybody these little mini ice cube trays.
Oh wow.
And so her favorite thing over quarantine, her and her husband would make like real fun, fancy cocktails. And she loved that she felt the ice made a real big difference. I feel like with bourbon, you guys have gotten into,
Hmm.
either having like a really big rock of ice or no ice at
Right.
all or just a little bit of ice. But I do think it affects the flavor of my cocktail a little bit. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, I did. Which I actually have not got a chance to talk to you about, but I did an event last Thursday for
Yeah.
Sweet and Cove Bourbon, and and they actually, I mean, it's St. Elmo's, so it,
Hmm.
but
Fancy.
but they have a ice cube or it's a ice ball, but it was a
Mhm.
smaller ice ball than normal than like what I'm used to,
Hmm.
and they were explaining to me how they like ship them in, and it's like this whole process with this ice ball to get them all like that way. Um,
Wow.
and it was like amazing because I mean, you drink on this bourbon, and the whole idea is to chill it, and you don't want it to dilute the bourbon that fast. So,
Right.
um, but this ice ball, by the time I mean, I drank it kind of quick too, but by the time I finished the bourbon, the ice ball was still like it didn't even
Frozen.
look like it was touched. It was just sitting there. So I was like, I don't know
That's
what
awesome.
St. Elmo's is spending
Yeah,
on
like it has like a
their ice
little
ball.
dry ice or something, some
Right.
magic voodoo to it.
I don't know. They must put that steak sauce in there or something, or
Yeah.
seasoning or something.
Get some
So
horseradish on it.
yeah, some shrimp cocktail. Um, so I know some people watching this evening already know kind of your background, but for those that there's plenty that do not know. So why
Sure.
don't you kind of explain your
Yeah,
background
why
and
why are you having your sister-in-law who drinks
yeah, just
vodka on
because
your
I
bourbon
needed somebody
show?
to drink with, and she is here. So
Sure, yeah. So I do marketing and advertising. So I know when you got started with your Ty the Bourbon Guy account, you would come to me for a lot of little marketing questions and social media advice and things like that. So um, I've kind of run the gamut of industries that I've worked for brands that I've done marketing, advertising, and communications for. I started out. I know there's a lot of gamers. I think you got a lot of gamers on this on this
oh
video.
yeah,
Um, I started out doing marketing for an organization that did soft tip dart tournaments and membership. So that was kind of how I got my foot in the door in the big world of being outside of college and having a job. And then I worked for a tech company. So I did B2C and B2B marketing for a tech company that had both audiences. So that's business to consumer. So direct marketing to anyone that could buy your product and also direct marketing to businesses. And then I went to an agency and I worked for anything under the sun that you can probably imagine. A lot of financial institutions, some tourism, some stuff like that. And now I work in agriculture. So I've just kind of run the
All over the
industries
place.
through. Uh, so bourbon is still yet to be on my list. So I'm going to add this one to my LinkedIn profile that I can
Yeah,
now
I
say
mean,
that I talk bourbon.
do you deal
But
with like corn and wheat and everything else,
it
right? I mean,
it
that's kind of
it starts with where I'm at now, that's for
yeah,
sure. So yeah, it's an ag tech company, and I do marketing for them. Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah, so like you said, I started my Instagram page and it literally was to just take a picture. I've said the story plenty of times where your sister, my wife said that I should, in order to track all these bottles that I had, that I should post, a picture or whatever. I don't know that she ever thought that I would, go over the top with it and like, let's make my own Instagram and let's do it all this. Uh, which is like
You over the top?
one of my 20 Instagrams. Uh, but one of them was bound to succeed. Um, so yeah, and I didn't really know anything. And I think there's a lot of people, and the more that I've got into on the gaming side, I realize it's kind of like that. In my opinion, it's like that across the board. Like there's just content creators or influencers or whatever you want to call them. I prefer content creator because I hate the word influencer.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, I understand it, but it's one of those things that I think that the bourbon stuff has taught me so much just by doing it that when I got into the gaming stuff, that it kind of has let me already navigate through some of that quicker. Um, and part of that is just either understanding your content, understanding your audience, and especially with whiskey. And you know this, like I get a lot of companies that reach out to me and send stuff, and you were actually the person that taught me to respond back and ask, what's your expectation? Like
Mhm. Mhm.
you're going to send me a bottle of whiskey, what do you want me to do with that bottle of whiskey? So
Yeah.
um, I know a lot more now. You still help me quite a bit, but there's back when I first started, I just remember being like, what do I do? Like
Yeah.
um, there was a whiskey company that actually asked me for a media kit, and I called you that night and was like, what is that? I don't even know what a media kit is. So
And we made one, right?
we made a media kit. Yeah. So now and I still have it. That's like my template for my numbers have changed a lot since then.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so, I mean, so even with some of the things that you've seen with my page over time, and then even in your own, professional experience,
Mhm.
what do you think, like, what's a good, just something to keep in mind or advice for, and I know that's a loaded question, but just for somebody that's just, let's say, starting out and they're just creating, whether
Yeah.
it's a channel on Twitch or a YouTube channel or Instagram or whatever, what's something that you think is like a priority for them to keep in mind?
Yeah, it is a loaded question, but I think, and I feel like this gets watered down a little bit of people saying like authenticity, but it's people, everyone's a creator. Everyone's pretty much an influencer. Everyone has their own personal brand now. That's the um, beauty and maybe a little bit of the downfall of so much social media in our life, but that we all do feel like we have this platform where we can, whether any brand is giving us money or clout or anything like that, we're all posting pictures of where we're eating, what we're drinking, who we're hanging out with. Everyone's in, the clothes they're wearing, the jewelry they're wearing, whatever. And so even if you're not, you know, trying to get paid for all of that stuff, like on social media, we've all a little bit become experts in how to promote our own personal brand. And so I think it carries over pretty seamlessly to having some sort of business type social platform. And that's how a lot of people are getting out there right now with stuff that they're interested in. So I follow any cooking Instagram that you can probably imagine. and they just
I'm
started
waiting for
out
yours
probably.
to actually for you to
I
start your
know.
own cooking Instagram.
You can't. You've been pushing me on this one for a number of
Hmm.
years, but
Yep.
yeah, I haven't done that yet because then I feel like I wouldn't have enough to post on my own personal Instagram. So,
You
but
do
yeah,
make a lot though, and I'm over
I
there taste testing as much as I can.
I
So
do, I do. But I think, that's how a lot of people get started is they are really interested in something. And if you're gonna go out on a ledge and create an entire account that uh, is surrounded by this, what could be like a passion project of yours, just be consistent with it. Like, you can pepper in things like when I follow these food accounts, sometimes I want to see pictures of their dog and their baby and stuff, but like for the most
mhm.
part, I want them to be posting a fun little recipe that they're doing or something they've worked on. I don't care if they pre-recorded it. Nobody really cares about that stuff anyway. But just like try to be consistent with posting as much as as much as you
Yeah.
possibly can. I'm sorry, I can see the comments as they come in, so apologies for my laughter.
Yeah, some
But
some people in the chat are getting a little carried away. Um,
but consistency and just
yeah,
like you don't have to be people like you in your home. I kind of had it. I was listening to a podcast last night with my husband. We were driving home, and
was it bourbon talk?
it wasn't, but I do listen to it. It was Stanley Tucci, the chef. He was on Armchair Expert, and he was just talking about how he started posting little videos of the cocktail he would make his wife at the end of the day. And he's been in movies, he's directed movies, he's done all this really amazing stuff that made him extremely famous. And then he started this Instagram that his assistant told him he had to do and was making these silly cocktails for his wife, and it exploded. And he was just like, I didn't realize that an Instagram video would be probably the most popular thing that most young people know him for. And it's just like that is the world of social media and marketing these days. Like you can't really put it in a bottle. It's just
Yeah.
who you are and what you're down to capture and post.
Yeah, I think to me, like even with some of the stuff that I do on the video game side, it's like one of the things that has I've learned. I wasn't always that way, but like the consistency of posting, and I do think it's
Mhm.
important. Like there's several times throughout that page where I just won't post for a while, and I think
Yeah.
that's important too. If you're mentally not there, like it's okay to step away from that, and when you come back, people will still be there, whatever.
And
Um,
it's also okay to like take 7 pictures on a beautiful day
yeah.
and then just trickle it out over time. It's not
Hmm.
fake. You're drinking all those bourbons. You like
Yeah.
all those bourbons. That's okay too. It's okay to build up your content and
Hmm.
do with it as you plan. I'm a big content calendar. I'm very type A, so everything that I do in my corporate life is pretty much planned out, and that's what most brands do. It's not a bad thing. I don't think it's being disingenuous in any way. It's our content. We're just, being smart about how we create it and then distribute it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like to me, I think consistency matters more. So, in the beginning of doing this, and I think a lot of people probably watching are in that boat of, or have been in that boat of like, I have 100 followers, I need to get to 500. And one of the things,
Mhm.
sometimes I'll listen to Gary Vee, and one of the things that he said that stuck with me is it doesn't matter what number you're on, you're going to go for the next number. So
Mhm.
you can get to 10,000 or whatever it is. And, you want 50,000. I mean, it's just,
It's the same with money. We think
yeah,
that we'll feel
sure.
safe and secure at a certain amount, and then you
Right.
what? You
You
move the
don't, you get
line.
there and then you're like
Nope.
this. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
and there's been spurts. Like I think for me, I remember getting to 1,000 was like, took a while. And then I
Mhm.
remember hitting 1,000 and getting 2,000, like just like that. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
so, but then it
Yeah.
slowed back down. And so there's like these different times where just, so to me, it's like consistency matters more. It matters more if I'm a streamer. It matters more that I'm doing a weekly show or, and I'm here every week and people know, or
Mhm.
if I'm posting, like, posting whatever that consistency is. It doesn't necessarily mean every day, but once a week, 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, whatever. Um, One of the things I also heard that stood out to me is like, imagine trying to watch your favorite TV show and having no idea what channel or what time it comes on. So consistency matters.
Yeah, and certain
So
personalities are more drawn to that too. I mean, like I said, I'm very type A, so I kind of want to know like when are things happening and
yeah,
what's the cadence here? Because
yeah,
if it's something I'm really interested in, I want to know, when things
yeah.
are going down.
Well, and then also, like you said, like it's like kind of this fine. I've realized that it's this fine line of I don't really share too much from my personal life on my Instagram, but I realized very quickly that if somebody, I just did this event, and it helps that my name is Ty the Bourbon Guy, but when I went to this event, there was all these people that came right up to me or whatever. All these people. The event was only like 15 people, but some
There
people
were
there came
hundreds
up
of
to me.
people.
It was like thousands of people. It was crazy. Uh, but there was people that came up to me before I even said anything, and they said, "Oh, hey Ty," or "I follow you on Instagram," and I had to ask them what their handles were.
Hmm.
So it's one of those things that I realized that not every picture on Instagram has to be a picture of me, but people like that connection more so than
Just
whatever
the
bottle,
bottle.
because whatever bottle I'm posting, somebody else is posting it too. It just that it doesn't, I don't know. It's like it doesn't have to be about me. It's just
Yeah.
a connection.
Yeah.
Um,
It's just the realness. It's like people want, I think we started feeling like, oh, we had a little bit more of an insight into like celebrities and like behind brands and things that we didn't used to have that back that what we felt like was uh, behind the camera view of kind of what's happening in these people's lives. And if you're an account that's something that people follow, they surely, if they're, especially if they're tuning into something like this where you're like literally talking to people each week and they get to know you a little bit better, covering that over all of your channels is really important so that people feel more connected and just in the know with you.
yeah, yeah. It's like to me with the gaming stuff because we're into a lot of different things. So whether it's sports or um, anime or whatever it may be, it's like on the bourbon side, I barbecue a lot. So
Hmm.
I don't make that every post, but I try to bring that in every once in a while. And at first, like it sounds weird now because I see a lot of pages doing that, but at the time there wasn't. I don't know. I didn't really ever see anybody post barbecue on a bourbon page,
Hmm.
and I kind of felt like this will give me another just something else for another person to be interested in. And then I ended up getting more questions. Like people will DM me asking me recipes or how did I do this or what method or what temperature, whatever. And it's like, I don't know. So I realized that it's kind of this, people have to know, in my opinion, people have to know what you are first. And because if I kept posting all this random stuff, then they're like, wait, what is it? So he does bourbon or like, what is
Hmm.
he? But I established that I'm, a bourbon page. And then here's some of the other aspects of my life, So I think that's, I don't know
And
about
I
from a
think
professional standpoint, but
when you're
that's kind
just
of what I,
getting started, like you said, it's like know what you're trying to talk about, like know what your purpose is of why you have this separate account. I mean, obviously on your personal page, that's there, the purpose is just your life. But if you spin off accounts and you try to make more of a brand of something that you're passionate about, try to stay with that for a while. Like I agree with you. I think it's important to get some followers based on what the purpose is. But then at some point, we look back at our audiences now. So like I work for bigger brands, and so it's like, well, who is following us and what are they interested in? So at a
Mhm.
certain point there's kind of a tipping point where it's like, okay, I got all these followers, this is what I was posting about. But for you it's like you had people who liked drinking bourbon. Those
Mhm.
people, a lot of them might also like barbecue. And you can
Mhm.
kind of like look back at that and it's like, man, a lot of the people that are following me, maybe you follow them, you're seeing some of the stuff that they're posting. And then you can start to incorporate that if, again, it's authentic to you. If you're just
Right.
like, oh, now I wear $1,000 watches because I feel like the people that follow me like really expensive watches, like that's
Right.
not that's not a way to go about it. It would be
Yeah.
exhausting if you started to do that stuff. It's not real to your passion, so
Well, we
it's not
all
going to be
know. I mean,
beneficial.
I feel like everybody you follow, you can just tell like what's genuine and what's not. And there's certain bourbon pages that I follow that, and I've been following them for years, and to where every post is a brand, and I use this, and some of the stuff has nothing to do with whiskey at all, and it's
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
and I can't even figure out why, like one of the, I was watching a YouTube video, and one of the companies that sponsored the video was a cereal company, and they mix it in, and I mean, do what you do. I mean, they're sending you a check to do it. I get it, but to
Mhm.
me, at some point, like I get it that they're willing to pay that, and it's exciting, and I say this, and the next week I'm going to be on here like eating cereal
Eating
because they
cereal.
sent me a check, right? but but it's like, to me, I guess I'm in my own shoes. I'm not big enough yet to like for that to really matter. This isn't. I don't do this full time or anything like
Right.
that. So
Right.
it's more
Right.
important for me. Like today was actually just announced that I have. Um, I'm going to be an ambassador for Broken Barrel whiskey that
I
I had
saw
on the
that.
show a few weeks ago, and I had talked with him. But there were several things before that happened that I asked him, to clarify, and I wanted to make sure that I had certain abilities and whatever. And my whole thing is like, if I'm not digging a brand or what they're doing or whatever, then I'm not going to accept that. I'm just not at a place where I need to. So,
Yeah.
um, but before we get too far along, there was actually a question about media kits because we were talking about that earlier. What are the basics of a media kit for a creator who wants to create one and send it out to companies or brands for a chance to collaborate? I feel like that's also a loaded question now that I know what a media kit is because you sent me the whole packet.
No, it's I mean, it can be pretty basic. I mean, I think you can start with like the media kit that we created for you. I think it was like, here's the number of followers, here's like the
My
number of
engagement
people who
levels
followed your
and yep.
account, the engagement with posts on a general basis, and Instagram and Facebook, they give you these numbers nowadays, so it's really easy to pull analytics from any social platform that you're on. I'm not sure about Twitch, but for most social platforms, if you go back in the back end of your analytics, you can pull most of the numbers and just design a nice pretty page in a place like Canva, or I don't know if anyone's heard of Canva, but it's a website where you can pay to have a little pretty template, and you can move and drop things, and it can look really professional. Um, and so, yeah, things like who your audience is. If you can pull out some, small tidbits, like a bullet point list of things that you post about, things that your audience engages with you highly on. But I would also say sending your media kit to a company might work. I think it would be probably better to maybe like DM. So if you're on Instagram, send a DM to a company and just say like, hey, if you're ever interested, give me a follow, and kind of see if it goes anywhere from there first. So it's a little less like, hey, here's my media kit. Do you want to collaborate with me? And you can, give me money if I post your stuff. It can seem a little more abrasive to do it that way than just kind of a subtle follow. If you're engaging with that brand stuff,
Mhm.
especially if they're not like a massive brand, they notice, like they see who's liking and commenting and doing all of that stuff. You may think like, oh, nobody even notices me. I promise you, the social media managers in the marketing department, they know who's engaging with them on their channels. And so that's a really good way to start getting in with brands that you're really interested in. And then if they are interested, you can say, hey, I have a media kit, which will make you seem extremely professional and put
Mhm.
together, even more so than maybe other people that they've tried to work with in the past, which can just make their jobs easier. And at the end of the day, everyone who has a corporate job, you just want your job to be easier. If somebody's, willing to make content for you, if someone's willing to kind of tag you and stuff and post, I think a lot of brands would love that. It just has to make sense for everybody involved. So if you want help with a media kit, just let me know.
She charges one bottle of bourbon per media kit that she makes.
I charge one
You can
bottle of Grey Goose vodka.
feel free to send the bourbon to my address. Um, well, and you and I have talked about this plenty of other times, but I think it's unfortunate that there is a brand that I work with a lot that um, I have made sales for them, and
Mhm.
I don't know. I have such a great relationship with them, but the ownership of that brand does not see the benefit of working with somebody like me, and they don't think that it would matter. They think the money that they would spend doesn't it wouldn't reflect into their sales or whatever. And I disagree a million times over, because there's
Yeah.
actually right now there's a brand that I think is doing a really good job. They found somebody on Instagram that has a good page and a following and whatever else, and they have like this person now basically he's partnered with a liquor store, and
Mhm.
if you go in the liquor store he has a section where it's like his picks of the week. And I'm thinking back to when I got into bourbon and I didn't know anything about anything. If you have something like that, and it's
Yeah.
like, first of all, that helps the influencer or the person, that's because your handle's everywhere. But then it's like so now you're building a local brand that's getting even stronger and stronger. And then people are going to go to that end cap. I mean, I've worked retail for many years. People love end caps. So it's like they're going to go there and they're going to just be like, I guess one of these should be good because this is what this guy picked. Um, or for gift giving or stuff like that. So that whole concept of
Mhm.
giving that guy the freedom to pick what he thinks should be the ones in that month. Um, and then just different events that he's promoting. I mean, I don't even he's based out of Chicago. I don't even
Mhm.
live in Chicago, and I know all about this liquor store from him.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
just one of those
it's a
things.
huge miss. It's a huge miss. I think people who have historically been a part of companies that have brick and mortar shops, which are the main way that all of us have always shopped up until uh, the past few years. It's hard for some people to understand how much buying power social media platforms and influencers and creators have over who buys things and how they buy things. I mean, I shop I buy a lot of things off of Instagram. I hope my husband's not listening. But it's different. I mean, I think we all see stuff. I mean, going into the gift season, and I'm sure everybody did this over COVID last year too, of just like the way that you search for things, the way that you get ads served to you for gifts for the holidays. It's like if you're not on social, and you don't always have to be doing a paid promotion either of your own and advertising or via an influencer or someone who's helping promote you. But the brand that you were talking about originally, I know that they don't really do a lot on social media at the base
I
of the
think I
whole
told you
problem.
their last post on Instagram is like 2 years ago or something like that, or and it's
Mhm.
just like, just let me. I mean, if you there's so much so much potential I see there, and because I'm so involved with bourbon, I know what's coming. I've
Yeah.
been now doing the bourbon stuff for, I don't know, a few years. So it's like I kind of know, like, I see it, and I've always kind of seen that coming. And people call it the bourbon boom, but I think there's a lot more to it. I think and there's a lot of people that come on the show that actually talk about all the things that are happening in tequila and wine, and there's so many things that are happening in general, that it's not just me that because I just kept thinking for myself, posting, like, if I were to run their page, it's like you have access to all these things, whether it's wines or beer, craft beer, whatever, and it's
Yeah, and
like
who could
I'm dealing
follow
with just
them.
bourbon and just the bourbon that I own or is
Right.
sent to me.
Right.
Whereas, like, if I were to work with
Right.
them, it's just, so
Yeah.
to me, I just think it's so unfortunate that that's the mindset. And I think just in business, my interest in business in general, it's like those types of businesses get left behind because you
Hmm.
can't adjust with the times. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Somebody
I
else
mean,
will. They'll figure it out.
shout out, I know, on our marketing team, I think our digital marketing manager is one of the most important roles at any company on any in house marketing team because digital platforms are just everything nowadays. It's like people go to your website, people go to your Instagram, and people go to your YouTube channel. And it's like if you don't have those things kept up to date, and if you're not, consistently sharing some stuff, like why would anybody even begin to follow you? And so, yeah, you're just missing a whole universe of people who that's the main way that they are taking in any sort of advertising or any sort of new ideas. It's just like we're all on our phones, and that's where we are. So you have to go where the people are. And I think a lot of people kind of get stuck in like, well, this is how it's always been. This is how we shop, or this is how I think of whatever it is, that the business they're running. But it's like it's not about you. It's about like where the next generation is. And it's
Mhm.
sometimes hard. I think that something will come along in 10 years. And even though I'm in marketing, I'll be like, oh, like when TikTok came out, I was just
TikTok.
like,
Yeah, I was
please,
just supposed
please just give me one more minute before. And then when you told me about Twitch, I was just like, and so I'm doing it too. I think we all have that instinct in us to
Mhm.
kind of hang where we've been, where we feel comfortable and where we feel confident. And you have to force yourself and kind of just try to push yourself to do the next big thing, which I
Mhm.
love that you're willing to do and that you're trying to do, because you won't get left behind if you keep trying to keep up.
Yeah. And I think that's, to me personally, like my business mindset, I think is what helps with my, you understand all things marketing. I understand business in general and just like the direction. To me, it's like common sense of there's nobody on Twitch that is, to my knowledge, that is a whiskey enthusiast page. So
Right.
if I'm on Instagram, and now when I started, there weren't that many, but now like it seems like there's tons of them, and I can't even keep up. And then I go on YouTube and then I look, and then there's plenty of YouTube. I mean, I just type in bourbon, and it's tons
Yeah.
of pages now. And back
Mhm.
in the day, there was, I remember specifically you and your husband coming over, and I was like, there's these two people on YouTube talking about bourbon, and we just like watched their video. I mean,
Yep.
so now, and that
Yeah.
was, which is weird to think, but that was a while ago. Um, and now there's just tons of pages. So for me, it's like I can fight through all of that. And I think it's important to still be on those platforms, which
Yeah.
is why I'm doing that. But if I get to a platform where I'm not having to fight through that, then it kind of helps me out. Because if anybody on Twitch is ever looking for whiskey, then it's like I'm got to be the only person that pops up.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think that's kind of the only thing I think I've that I didn't understand um, so far is when I decided to go to YouTube and decided to go to Twitch. I just assumed because of my following on Instagram that it would just carry over. And I
Mm.
realized very quickly that it doesn't. There's some
Mhm.
carryover. Some people that follow me on YouTube uh, probably follow me on Instagram, but there are some subscribers that don't, that have never even heard of me until YouTube.
Yeah.
And then there's when I got to Twitch, that's when I realized like your enthusiasts are probably hanging out on Instagram and YouTube. I know a lot of people are involved in Facebook, and I just am not really there. And I know a lot of people are there to try to build that, but I'm not really interested in using that platform as much.
Mhm.
Um, and so with Twitch, I realized it's a whole different group because now I've kind of found a community of people that are just like, hey, you're passionate about bourbon and different whiskeys, and we just either want to support you or we want to learn more about it, or hey, I had a bourbon every once in a while, and I'll check out your channel. It's I realize it's a lot different than somebody on Instagram that's scrolling looking for a picture of a bottle or
I
so I've
think
had to
I
adjust to that too.
Yeah, I think the evolution of social media, even just on that topic in of itself, is completely evolved in the past couple years. I mean, y'all remember when people were posting on Facebook and it would like share out to their Twitter, and it's like, oh, that's the worst thing you could do now. Do not cross post the exact same thing on all your channels. It's like it seems very unauthentic and fake. But that was something that we were all trying to do. We were trying to kind of do one thing and just like blast it out across the board. And to your point, like the stuff you put on Instagram and the audience that's on Instagram, they're interested in that original content that they started following you for. If you're constantly trying to tell your Instagram followers to go look at your YouTube, that's horrible user experience. I don't want to go to YouTube. I'm on Instagram. If I want to go to YouTube, I'll go to YouTube and then I'll check out things. And maybe I'll follow you on YouTube when I'm over on that platform. It's kind of like telling someone who's like on an Xbox, like go downstairs and turn your basic cable on. And it's like, well, I don't want to do that. I'm on Xbox.
Right.
Don't push me away from the current channel I'm on just because you are interested in doing something on YouTube. It's fine to show that like, hey, we did this thing and it's over here. Here's a link. Put a link, because now everybody can link. It's not just for influencers. Everybody can link. Drop the link directly in your story. Make it really, really easy, like second grade level ease of use, so that whoever is engaging with you there, if they do happen to want to jump over and check out the thing, whether it's something on a different channel or it's a news article or something like that, that's totally fine. But don't try to keep moving your traffic. Like you said, your audience on Twitch is going to be a different audience, and just let that be. You don't need to force Instagram users to move over to Twitch. Just like live. And to your point, don't get on Facebook if you don't want to be on Facebook. That's not necessary. If you don't want to be there and that's not authentic to you, just don't even do it, because then you're just like, again, copying and pasting and just like shoving your stuff over there just to check the box because you have it. So that's my advice on that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think I think there's a time and place for it, probably just like anything. So even with promoting this show, yes, I want people to know that I'm doing it. So I'm not trying to move you to another platform. I'm trying to make you aware that I'm also doing this.
Absolutely.
So for me, it's like I'll post this, and I haven't done it. I like every week I actually get people messaging me asking me like, hey, and some people need the reminder maybe of on my story, whatever. But I just, especially starting out, I think eventually you'll kind of get there, but it's like starting out, I don't want that. I want to grow as organically as possible on YouTube or Twitch or whatever. And then people figure out what you're doing and then it kind of goes from there. But I think from my perspective of somebody that does the content stuff, I think it's almost like you're doing that because it's the follower game. You're trying to get more people to watch or to follow you or to watch your stream or to do whatever it is. And that doesn't work I mean, you may get some, but the most followers I've ever got. So I did a few weeks ago. I did an episode with Samara Davis from Black Bourbon Society, and we had a really great conversation. I've talked with her, a few times, and after that, and she posted the video in the group, and even though I'm part of that group, I didn't want to like self promote that. I thought obviously people are going to be interested that are in that group, but I didn't want to be the one to post it. So, but she shared that, and I got a lot of followers from that. So I think that that's kind of one of those things where, that was an organic thing. Here's something that a piece of content that I created, and then here are people that are genuinely interested in that particular content, and they subscribed, and that's where a lot of followers on YouTube for me came from. So, so I can post all day long on YouTube, but everybody, again, it's like the Twitch thing. Everybody's posting on their Instagram their YouTube links, right? So like people are just clicking through it. They see it a million times a day. So to me, it's like making sure that it's the right time to do it.
To do though, like you said, it's like people, if people are interested and they want to watch your show, don't make it difficult for them to find your stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
you just
that's
throw it out there, and then
Right.
if they want to do it.
Right.
But like if I do that every single day, follow me on, because Twitch was a big one. When I went over to Twitch, I thought the same thing. I thought it would come over,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't work that way. So
Mm-hmm.
I think I posted once or twice about Twitch, and then I left it alone because I realized like people, I could see how many people have seen that story, and it's like they're not moving. So don't force them, So
Mm-hmm.
so there is a question I actually was going to answer. So I know this guy.
Who's
Uh,
this guy?
yeah. Does marketing make Sweetens Cove bourbon worth $189 a bottle? If not, what does? So with bourbon specifically, bourbon is whiskey specifically is a huge marketing game. So I mentioned this before on the show, but when you look at a bottle and how fancy that bottle looks, or actually I have one right behind me. This one is one of the most famous, infamous bottles. It's called Blanton's Bourbon. And I mean, it's got this nice horse up at the top. It tells you that it's the original single barrel bourbon whiskey on the label. It's this really cool bottle that's really unique compared. So these are things that, in my opinion, I think a lot of whiskey companies are trying to, most companies are trying to sell you before. So I'm looking at the bottle automatically and like interested in that. But yet there's plenty of whiskeys that, in my opinion, are better than that. Not that that's a bad one, but when it gets kind of blown up to be this amazing thing, and there's people that are willing to pay 3 or 4 times the price for it, it's like that's crazy. It's not worth that much. So sometimes in whiskey, you have that where things have just been marked up significantly because of all the marketing. Um, Sweetens Cove is not, in my opinion, is not necessarily one of those. They do have a person that's involved with their whiskey that is, uh, I don't know what, but he's a partner in the brand, so it's not like it's different from other celebrity whiskeys where they're paying that celebrity to do whatever. Um, Sweetens Cove
But
is
it
actually
comes at a cost. It comes at a cost,
yeah,
which is a marketing.
yeah,
Ultimately, it's a product cost that may drive the price up.
yeah.
I
It
don't
could
know if it
drive it
drives it up that much, but it
right.
drives it up. That's for sure.
And with bourbon, a lot of it is age, availability, and taxes. So age and taxes kind of go hand in hand to where um, I know Sweetens Cove is a blend of different. They source bourbon, meaning somebody else distills it. They don't actually make it, and then they kind of get these 3 different, let's just say barrels. They get these 3 different barrels in, and they mix them and blend them a certain way. So if barrel A is 16 years old, that means that they've been paying taxes on that barrel for 16 years. If it also sat there for 16 years, that means that the whiskey has evaporated over time. They call that the angel share. So if you've ever heard of Angel's Envy, that's kind of what the name comes from. So um, the whiskey starts to evaporate. So now you have less liquid to actually bottle and sell. So it ends up being a higher price sometimes. So um, in my opinion, I think Sweetens Cove, that's kind of more of the reason. But they're also a brand that's young and just kind of starting out. So they're still a craft distillery, just kind of like same with craft beer. Um, you're going to pay $12 for, whatever, maybe $10 to $12 for a 4 pack, where I can go get back in my college days, I can go get, a case of 32 or whatever it is and split it with somebody and pay $4, so um so it all has to do with availability, production, things like that. So
But there
um
is to twist marketing on this a little bit, because I think that's what Dave is kind of
yeah,
alluding to a little bit. But I mean, product marketing and the way that people design any product is it's a big business. It's a big part of what a brand spends a lot of money doing. So it's like even that bottle. And you've commented on the few bottles and the design and like what's on the picture and like all those things. It's really important piece of all your marketing collateral. Like your product itself is a piece of your marketing collateral that's part
mhm,
of your brand. And so I think if you're not interested in how your bottle is designed and what it looks like and what people kind of feel when they see it, and if it resonates with, something that they would love to like have on their shelf, you're missing a big opportunity of something that you should spend time and money and effort behind. It's not just what the product is inside. That's a big part of it. And people who really, really enjoy bourbon like you do, Ty, absolutely, you care more what it tastes like at the end of the day and whether the price aligns to what that, if it feels aligned to you. But at the end of the day, so many of us are shopping based on like, oh, this looks cool, and I'm kind of intrigued and I'm interested in that. And it's a big piece of what brands should be focusing on first.
Yeah, with bourbon, I always say that the bottle will get you to buy it the first time. The bourbon should get you to buy it the second time. So I think that's true for any product, right?
Yeah.
So, and
Definitely.
When it's all part of their marketing costs, but if a company chooses to send me however many bottles of whiskey, and say, hey, we're not going to charge anything. We just want your opinion on it. We want you to, if you enjoy it, share it with your followers. If you don't enjoy it, feel free to give us feedback. There's been a lot of companies. There is one company in particular that I did share feedback because I didn't care for it. I thought that they were a little bit too young. They didn't actually, in whiskey, they call it an age statement. They didn't tell you how old it was or even give me a range. But I felt like it tasted like a young whiskey. And with whiskey, you can tell pretty quickly if it's a year old or when everything else I drink is 4 or 5 plus. But I also think like, which side? This way. So like these were sent to me and now they're just sitting there. And every time I do this show, they're sitting there. And I mean, so yes, the cost to send me the bottles, but I've talked to few several times on the show. I've done Instagram lives with them. I've posted pictures and no, they didn't ask me to do any of it. I just enjoy what they're doing. I enjoy our relationship. I enjoy their whiskey. So it's one of those things that, yeah, they may have paid, part of their marketing budget to send me that stuff, but there's a wide variety of how that gets used down the road. Yeah. So, so I'm totally that kind of person that if it looks cool, it'll get me drunk all the same. If it looks cool, it will get me. I mean, and that's fine too. Some people actually, go in and try to find the cheapest bourbon, although there are bourbons that are like $15 that I'm like, yeah, I'll go for every time. But it's generally coming from a distillery that is able to produce like think about it like a Jim Beam or a Jack Daniels or something like that. You go in and they have cheaper whiskeys and they also have expensive whiskeys, but a lot of times people don't know the brands are connected. Yeah. And those are the 2 top selling whiskeys in the world. And, so I kind of, even with the bourbon enthusiasts, I try to remind people that like, there's, like you said, certain things that I may enjoy. And I'm like, oh, this whiskey or that whiskey or whatever, but those are number 1 and 2. So the primary customer for them is not me. It's like you said, somebody that either wants to come in and get something that's cheap or, hey, that looks cool. I'll just buy that and try that. So is there any last little bit? I know you've dropped a lot of very good information for all the people out there, but is there any takeaways or any last minute things that you can think of to kind of send people home with?
I was thinking about something that's like actually tangible that like everyone could do. And I have no affiliation with this organization at all, but there's an email newsletter that's called Morning Brew, but they have a marketing email that they send out in the afternoon and it's called Marketing Brew. And I can send everybody a link. Just like every single industry nowadays, things move really quickly. I know we already talked about like you start to get your handle on one social media channel or this or that, and then something new is going on. And so I think that's one of the things when you're in marketing, you just have to stay up to speed as best as you can. And we're in the world of local media and things like that, and so you're constantly having to kind of stay up to speed on what's going on. And that's something that I read every day. I don't always read it in full, but I'll skim through the marketing brew and just try to take in as much as I can, and kind of get any little nuggets of things that, like you said, are coming up ahead that maybe like we should just be aware of, that as a brand, we want to make sure that we're not missing out on something. But I think it goes for individual content creators too, to just kind of make sure that um, they're just staying up to speed on what's going on, because it moves
Mhm.
really, really quickly. And
Yeah.
that's why you got to keep a good amount of people around you that also are kind of in the know on what's going on, and don't be scared to kind of share the stuff that you're interested in or what you've heard of or read about. I think having this community of people that are interested in what you're doing and want to kind of see everybody succeed, that's a great way to keep you all in the know.
Yeah, and I think it's. I always view it as a business. It's like you are, you hear that. I don't know. I feel like you hear that more often now, but you are your brand. Everything is a
Mhm,
business. So
mhm.
when you're looking at partnering with somebody or posting for somebody or whatever decision you're making it for your company, your brand, and you have to decide if that's the smart thing to do. Is it smart for me to just to get a free bottle of whiskey to tell this company that, or agree that whether I like it or
Never,
not, I'll just tell them it's the most amazing thing? No, it doesn't make any sense for me to do that. So
never. The
I,
longevity of people interested in what you're talking about will die quickly, and it's just like that's not beneficial to anybody.
right,
Those
for
brands are
sure.
no longer getting benefit from you sharing stuff because people have stopped thinking that it's legitimate, and that just hurts everybody involved.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think you have to be genuine and have to be yourself. And I think you kind of, in my opinion, on all of it, whether it's gaming, bourbon, whatever, I've seen where we see another page and it's good to take things from that, people that are successful, but it's like take that, but still be who you are and be yourself and figure out a way to do something, but make it your own and go from there. So, but yeah,
cool.
so that's a lot of information for everybody to to
And I feel
think
like
through.
when you get to 5,000 followers, you're gonna do something,
Yeah, when I
maybe?
get yeah, are we gonna we can announce it
No,
since you're
I
on.
just was being funny with you. We'll keep
So
it a secret, but
it's up to you. We can. Um, we might as well do it. You're on the show.
Mhm.
Uh, so right now I'm at I don't know the exact number. Let's say 5350 or something like that. A little bit over 5,300 followers on Instagram. I've actually never
Woo.
done a giveaway um, on Instagram for the same reasons we talked about earlier. I feel like it's everybody does it, and there's never really a brand that I'm attached to. But now there
But
is a
you have
brand that
to.
I'm literally attached to uh, that I think is awesome. I think they're doing really cool things. I think that they are. We talked about kind of staying ahead and doing things that nobody else is doing. I think that this brand is doing that. Um, and it's actually these. I can never get this thing right. There we go, right there. These wooden putters behind me are made by R&D Putters, which you know a little bit about, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so the I have two putters back there. One was a gift for being in your wedding, so that one's not going anywhere. The other one is going to be a giveaway when I get to 5,500 followers on Instagram.
Woo.
So 55 is my favorite number. When I played football, I was number 55, all that stuff. I thought 5,500 is a good number to do it. And so I have to get there first before we actually launch this. But if you're watching the show now, that just means you get more information that other people that haven't heard yet. But once I hit 5,500, then there will be a giveaway for that wooden putter behind me, and it could be yours. So,
Yeah.
um, do you want to say a
So I
little bit about
help
R&D? or should
I
we wait?
help run the Instagram because, like you, I'm connected in marriage to someone who started the wood putter business, and him and my dad make these custom wood putters. So they're pretty cool. And we thought there's enough people that like bourbon, that like barbecue, that probably golf. So we're we're out here just expanding your audience, industry by industry. But no, yeah,
Yeah.
I think it'll be a fun little thing, and we appreciate you giving it some love. And we've always been obviously a big champion of yours, so we appreciate you giving us a little shout out here and there and doing a little contest to give one of them away. I think around the holidays, even if you don't golf, it's a cool piece of kind of artwork, if you will, that you know people can put up on their bar or something like that. If you have a cool bar, it you know there's a few back here on our bar too. So,
Yeah.
but people also putt with them, so they actually work. It's not just a novel piece that you kind of look at. If you do golf, it's fun. So
Yeah. Yeah. I've actually gotten a lot of questions on the putters behind me because they're sitting there every
you
show.
keep putting them on display for us. I
Yeah,
appreciate
for
it.
sure.
Yeah, yeah, they
So,
look great.
so that'll happen once I hit 5,500 followers. So if you're not following me on Instagram, you can follow me at Ty the Bourbon Guy, and you should also follow R&D. Is it just R&D Putters?
It's R&D wood putters.
Okay.
So
R&D Wood Putters is the IG handle, right?
all one word. Yep.
So I'll drop that in. That's the Instagram handle. So check them out as well. And
Oh,
once,
I
like I said,
should have
once I hit,
saved that marketing brew. I
what's
didn't.
that?
I didn't pull that link to that marketing brew. I'll send you guys that in the chat as well.
Okay, awesome. Yeah,
Lord.
so once I hit 5,500 followers, at that point, that's when we'll start the giveaway. So I still have a little bit over 100 more to get to. So, um, if you're not following, go ahead and follow both of our accounts. If you are following, feel free to share that with other people, and let's get to 5,500. Like I said before, I've never really been big on the follower number, just because once I get to one, and then I'm looking at the next. But um, this is a different situation. So I've never done a giveaway. You guys are the only ones I'm going to do, at least in the short term. We'll see what happens down the road, um, but no. So I'm really excited for you to come on the show and kind of clear some things up when it comes to content creation and influencers and all these different things, and how we should be thinking through our content and working with different companies or brands, knowing your worth and just knowing that your content really means a lot to those companies,
Mm-hmm.
and making sure that you're not being taken advantage of or whatever it may be. It should be a two-way street. So
Mm-hmm.
they're helping you, sure, but it has to make sense for your brand, your personal brand, as well as something that you enjoy and is genuine to your brand. So,
Yep.
but yeah, there's already people messaging about you coming back on the show. So, so at some point down the road, maybe when I hit 5,500 followers, I don't know, we'll figure it out.
Maybe I'll drink a bourbon cocktail for that second
I mean, I
round.
think I think that's what the
You
people want.
already promised an autumn fall bourbon cocktail for Thanksgiving.
I
That
actually have to start on that because it
yeah,
takes.
you need to soak the cinnamon and apple or
So
something.
we'll look at it later, but it's cinnamon, apple, bourbon. I have the recipe.
Simple syrup, I think.
Simple syrups in there,
There's a few things in it that you have to
and then
soak for at
and then
least
it
7 days.
sits.
I think we're seven days out.
Nah, I wouldn't worry about
We need to
it. Yeah, no, we are 7 days. I actually was doing some
jump
shopping
in.
today, and I was like, oh, like Thanksgiving is like next week.
It's next
Um,
week. Yeah.
so yeah, so I'll work on that, and then maybe we'll take a picture for the gram or something of you actually
Yeah,
drinking
let's
bourbon.
do it. Let's do
So,
it.
but yeah, a lot of people saying great show. I agree.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
Cheers.
for the time. Cheers,
Yeah.
and everybody else, make sure branding, right? Let's get the logo in there.
I don't have my name on my cup.
Everybody else that's watching, remember every Tuesday, 8 o'clock Eastern, I stream Bourbon Talk live on YouTube and Twitch. You can subscribe to both pages and follow me there, or whichever one you prefer. I'm not going to push you in one direction or the other, which I learned, right? We heard Ty say, I have to put this comment up real quick. I've heard Ty say, no, don't worry about it so many times in my life. That's my best friend. So, yes, he has heard me say that several times. But yeah, thank everybody for tuning in, and I will see you next week on Bourbon Talk. Cheers.